Our first story tonight begins with, "It was late at night." The moon hung like a pale lantern in the inky sky, casting long shadows that seemed to dance with the rustling leaves. The woods loomed before me, a tangle of gnarled branches and twisted roots that whispered secrets to the wind. I shivered, the chill of the night settling into my bones as I hesitated at the edge of the forest. It had started as a dare, a foolish challenge among friends on a moonless night. The woods were notorious in our small town, whispered about in hushed tones by the locals. They spoke of ancient curses, vengeful spirits, and the eerie glow of ghostly orbs that hovered between the trees. But bravado and youthful ignorance fueled our courage, leading us to the edge of the ominous woods. My flashlight cut through the darkness as I ventured deeper, the beam flickering like a hesitant heartbeat. The air was thick with a damp, earthy scent, and the silence pressed against my ears like a vice. My friends' laughter echoed in the distance, but the dense canopy swallowed their sounds, leaving me alone with the shadows. The path twisted and turned, leading me further into the heart of the forest. The branches clawed at the sky like skeletal fingers, and the moon's feeble glow struggled to penetrate the thick canopy. My footsteps echoed like distant drumbeats, each one a reminder of my solitude. A distant howl echoed through the trees, sending shivers down my spine. I shook off the unease, chalking it up to the local wildlife. Yet, as I pressed on, a feeling of being watched settled over me like a suffocating fog. The air grew colder, and a strange mist clung to the forest floor. Shadows danced at the periphery of my vision, teasing shapes that vanished when I turned to look. Panic clawed at the edges of my mind, but I forced myself to dismiss it as a rational fear. I stumbled upon a clearing, a small pocket of moonlight revealing an ancient, weathered stone altar at its center. The sight sent a chill through my bones, and I could feel the weight of centuries pressing down on me. Symbols were etched into the stone, twisted and indecipherable, surrounded by the remnants of long-forgotten offerings. My breath caught in my throat as I noticed the orbs of soft, ethereal light hovering just beyond the altar. They flickered like the dying embers of a long-forgotten fire, their glow pulsating with an otherworldly rhythm. A sense of foreboding washed over me, but curiosity kept me rooted to the spot. The orbs began to move, swirling together in a macabre dance. The air crackled with an electric energy, and I could feel the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. The symbols on the altar seemed to glow with an inner light, casting eerie shadows that twisted and contorted. A voice echoed through the clearing, a haunting melody that sent shivers down my spine. It whispered ancient incantations, words that resonated with a power beyond my understanding. I tried to retreat, but an invisible force held me in place, my feet anchored firmly to the ground. Shapes emerged from the darkness, shadowy figures that slinked around the edges of the clearing. Their eyes gleamed with an otherworldly light, and their movements were both graceful and unnatural. I felt their gaze upon me, and terror clawed at my chest. My heart was on the verge of bursting through my ribs with each thunderous beat. The figures closed in, their forms coalescing into something both familiar and grotesque. Faces I recognized twisted into expressions of anguish and longing. My friends, or at least, distorted versions of them, reached out with spectral hands, their fingers inches from my skin. A guttural scream tore from my throat as the altar's symbols blazed with an unholy fire. The orbs pulsed in response, and the figures around me convulsed in a silent agony. The air vibrated with an otherworldly power, and I felt the ground beneath me shift. In an instant, the clearing vanished, replaced by a void of infinite darkness. The haunting melody grew louder, filling my ears until it felt like my skull would shatter. The figures disappeared, leaving me alone in the abyss. I awoke with a start, my heart pounding in my chest. The moon hung high in the sky, casting its pale light over the familiar trees. The forest was silent, the only sound the gentle rustle of leaves in the night breeze. Dread settled over me as I stumbled to my feet, the memory of the spectral figures and the ancient altar burning in my mind. I retraced my steps, the path now devoid of the eerie mist and foreboding shadows. The woods seemed ordinary once more, as if the supernatural horrors were nothing but a figment of my imagination. But as I emerged from the forest, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. The air crackled with an unseen energy, and the moon cast long shadows that seemed to dance with the rustling leaves. The woods loomed before me, a tangle of gnarled branches and twisted roots that whispered secrets to the wind. Our second story takes place on White Star Road, Whispers in the Shadows. The old house at the end of White Star Road had always been a source of intrigue for me. Its weathered facade, ivy-covered walls, and eerie glow that emanated from its windows at night sparked my curiosity. Despite the locals' warnings about its dark history, I couldn't resist the pull that drew me toward it, like a moth to a flame. One crisp autumn evening, under the foreboding canopy of skeletal branches, I decided to venture into the enigmatic dwelling. The air hung heavy with the scent of decay. I cautiously pushed open the creaking front door. The entrance hall was dimly lit, and the wooden floor moaned beneath my weight as I stepped further into the abyss. The air seemed to thicken, and the silence pressed against my eardrums like a weight, suffocating and consuming. I ascended a grand staircase that groaned with every step, leading me to a corridor where several doors stood ajar, revealing glimpses of forgotten rooms. As I explored, an unsettling feeling settled over me, as if unseen eyes were watching my every move. Reaching the end of the corridor, I found a door slightly ajar that led to a room bathed in an otherworldly blue light. Against my better judgment, I entered. The room was sparsely furnished in tarnished gold, dominated one wall. It was then that I heard it, the haunting whisper that seemed to materialize from the very walls. "Leave." My breath caught in my throat, and I spun around, searching for the source of the ethereal voice. The room was empty, but the whispers persisted, growing louder and more insistent. "Get out." The temperature began to plummet, and a chill raced down my spine. Panic clawed at my chest, urging me to flee, but a morbid fascination rooted me to the floor. I couldn't escape the feeling that something within the house wanted to communicate, to share its story. "Find me." The whisper led me back into the labyrinthine corridors, deeper into the heart of the mysterious mansion. Shadows danced on the walls, and the air became charged with a palpable energy. I stumbled upon a hidden door, concealed behind a tapestry that depicted a family long forgotten. With trepidation, I pushed it open, revealing a concealed chamber. In the center of the room stood an antique crib, swaying gently as if rocked by invisible hands. The air hummed with an otherworldly presence, and a hushed sobbing echoed through the chamber. The whispers intensified, weaving a tale of tragedy and betrayal. Mother, betrayed, darkness. As a spectral narrative unfolded, I pieced together the tragic story of a family torn apart by greed and dark secrets. A mother, wronged and betrayed, had become a vengeful spirit trapped within the confines of the house, her anguish eternally reverberating through its walls. The room grew colder, and the crib's rocking became more frenzied. Desperation clawed at me as I realized the spirit sought release, a redemption that could only be achieved by bringing her story to light. With a newfound determination, I delved deeper into the house's history, uncovering long-buried secrets that had festered for generations. As I unearthed the family's dark past, the house seemed to come alive with the tortured souls of its former inhabitants. Whispers turned to wails, and the air crackled with an otherworldly energy. Each revelation fueled the spectral unrest, propelling me further into the heart of the haunting. In a hidden chamber, I discovered a long-forgotten journal that chronicled the family's descent into darkness. The final tear-stained entry spoke of a mother's anguish and the damning actions of those she once held dear. Armed with the truth, I returned to the haunted room, the journal clutched in my trembling hands. As I read the word aloud, the air rippled with an unseen force, and the cries of anguish transformed into a melancholy lullaby. The temperature rose, and a soft glow enveloped the room. The crib ceased its erratic rocking, and whispers faded into a gentle breeze that swept through the chamber. In that moment, I felt the weight of the spirits lift, replaced by a profound sense of peace. The house, once shrouded in darkness, seemed to exhale a sigh of relief. As I stepped out into the cool night, I looked back at the old house on White Star Road, now bathed in a soft, warm light, and knew that I had played a part in setting the trapped souls free. Yet, the whispers lingered in the shadows, a haunting reminder of the thin veil between the living and the dead, and the stories that wait to be told. And so, as the moon hung low in the midnight sky, I could not help but wonder what other secrets lay hidden, waiting for someone to listen and bring them to light. The night held its breath, and the shadows whispered of more tales to unfold in the haunted house on White Star Road. Our third story ends in the Rocky Mountains of British Columbia. Whispers in the Mist. The haunting tale of three friends navigating the enigmatic forests of British Columbia began as a venture into the unknown, an adventure fueled by curiosity and the thrill of the supernatural. Little did they realize that the ancient woods held more than just towering trees and shadowy depths. They harbored secrets that would forever alter their perception of reality. As the trio ventured deeper into the wilderness, the air became thick with an unspoken tension. The towering pines cast long shadows that seemed to dance in tandem with their wavering flashlights, creating an eerie symphony of light and darkness. The chilling mist enveloped them, clinging to their clothes like spectral fingers, as if the very essence of the forest yearned to whisper its secrets. With each step, the forest revealed fragments of its storied past. Tales of elusive encounters with the legendary creature, Bigfoot, echoed through the dense foliage. Recent news events lent an air of credibility to the folklore, recounting unexplained footprints and distant, haunting cries that sent chills down the spines of even the most seasoned outdoorsmen. The initial excitement of their journey waned with the setting sun, replaced by a gnawing unease that settled over the group like a heavy cloak. The only sources of light were the feeble beams of their flashlights, unable to pierce the inky blackness that surrounded them. The dense underbrush whispered with each step, as if the very earth beneath them held its breath, bracing for an impending revelation. A silence fell upon the group as they stumbled upon a clearing bathed in an ethereal glow. The mist, now as thick as a spectral wall, danced in the moonlight, creating an otherworldly ambience that sent shivers down their spines. Unnerved, the friends pressed on, unaware that unseen eyes were observing their every move. The first tangible sign of the creature's presence manifested in the discovery of enormous footprints pressed into the damp soil. Panic rippled through the group as the reality of their situation set in. The news stories, once dismissed as sensationalism, now clawed at their minds like unseen phantoms in the darkness. The forest seemed to come alive with whispered secrets, carried by the wind through the ancient branches. The trio pressed on, fueled by fear and an inexplicable compulsion to unravel the mysteries that surrounded them. Unbeknownst to them, shadows flitted between the trees, and the woods pulsed with an ancient energy, responding to the intruders with a malevolent intelligence. As the night grew colder, and the mist thickened, closing in around them like a sinister shroud, a distant howl echoed through the trees. The friends quickened their pace, their flashlights flickering in sync with their escalating anxiety, casting erratic shadows that seemed to dance with the very spirits of the forest. Suddenly, a guttural growl erupted from the darkness, freezing them in their tracks. The air turned heavy with a palpable malevolence, and their flashlights revealed glowing eyes in the shadows. Panic set in as the massive figure of Bigfoot materialized before them, its imposing silhouette outlined by the spectral mist. The creature's eyes held an otherworldly intelligence, and the friends felt an invisible force paralyze them with fear. The whispers in the mist grew louder, recounting tales of ancient encounters with Bigfoot, painting a vivid picture of a guardian of the forest, both feared and revered by those who dared to venture too deep into its realm. In the blinding fog, the friends could barely discern the towering figure before them, its massive form a specter in the moonlit night. Bigfoot, a creature of myth and legend, stood as a silent sentinel between the mortal realm and the mysteries of the ancient woods. As the friends quivered in terror, the creature made no aggressive move. Instead, it regarded them with a solemn wisdom that transcended human understanding. The whispers in the mist took on a soothing tone, as if the very essence of the forest sought to calm the intruders. In that moment, the trio realized they had trespassed into a realm beyond their comprehension. The legends were not mere stories but a testament to the untamed power that guarded the heart of the British Columbia wilderness. The friends, humbled by the encounter, retraced their steps, the mist slowly releasing its grip on the forest as they retreated. The tale of their harrowing journey through the haunted woods became another whisper in the mist, a cautionary tale passed down through the generations. The ancient guardian, Bigfoot, continued its silent vigil, a mysterious force that watched over the secrets of the forest, forever veiled in the chilling mist of the untamed wilderness. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Please stay tuned for new episodes of White Star Horror Stories, presented weekly.